Tomorrow is CPI day, and by the way, we will be live streaming the event if you want to join us. But before that happens, let's take a look at some trade setups and ideas for the remainder of this week based on the upcoming CPI numbers. We're seeing some heavy volatility and some opportunities are all over the place. So without further ado, let's jump in. So first thing I want to show you guys is of course the gold market, and I'm long on gold. I'll show you guys a position here that I'm currently in when it comes to gold. This is my SPY. Let me switch it to gold. So I'm currently long gold. You can see my profit and loss here on the right hand side of the screen. It's a small trade, only up $145, and my stop loss is trailed into profit. In fact, we are very close to potentially getting stopped out for a profit here, which I wouldn't mind too much prior to the news event getting stopped out. But let's go over gold and the current price chart analysis. So what you'll see is this white line, by the way, represents my stop loss where I am just barely still in the trade. I've trailed my stop loss from my initial point, which was just below the 61.8% retracement off of this move here. So far, gold has been moving really well for me, and this signal has been a pretty good one within our Discord group. So my thought process with gold here is a couple things. I'm still bullish, right? The dollar to me is still looking like it's heading down, and we'll see if that changes on the actual CPI news release because we don't know the actual stats until they come out. But for right now, the momentum to the upside here for gold looks pretty good. And so for me, pullbacks in the coming days could actually be opportunities to potentially re-enter if I do get stopped out, or perhaps even look to trail my stop loss further should gold continue its march north. And what I mean by that is we have this previous high that actually just got taken out, right? Price shot through this level and my stop losses remain just below consolidation. If we can hold consolidation and perhaps even break through the highs again, there may be opportunities to look for continuation plays to the upside as we potentially near that 1900 mark for the gold price. So trade setups for today and tomorrow. If you are not already looking to trade gold, I would be very careful because of course the CPI news can spike either direction. We don't know what's going to happen on the actual release, but my bias is bullish. So if we get a spike to the downside, like I said, pullback plays could be of interest, and I'll remove my, we'll shrink my position here for just a second so I can talk about this. Something like this, where we could draw fibs from this fresh movement that we've seen. So if we do the swing low here, this entire trend to the upside, this 38.2% lines up very nicely with the previous swing high. So if I do get stopped out and we get some volatility, I may look to re-enter somewhere in this area around that 1860. Looks like a nice round number to potentially look to get long for a continuation play on the gold market. Like I said, I'm still bullish on it. I will take my profits if needed with a potential to re-enter at a better level, but I am still long and trailing stops on this trade for the time being. And like I said, if CPI actually does the opposite effect and it starts breaking us through the highs, my thought process on gold would be to look to trail stop loss further into profit. So my stop loss, which again is marked in white here, or representing it in white here, I'd like to trail that stop loss further into profit, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there before I do that. So, of course, if I share any updates, you guys will see them inside the Discord. If you're not already inside of the VIP Discord group, this is where I share my trade alerts and signals so that you can see exactly what I am currently in. The next one I want to show you is, of course, my S&P 500 trade, which you saw a little bit of earlier. Here's the S&P, and looking at the S&P 500, we are tapping into resistance here. You can see the 39.40 mark coming into play here as we film this video. Now, my thought process on this, I do have a trailing stop also in play for the S&P. So I'll show you here, SPY, currently floating $3,150 on this trade. So it's a really good one so far for me, and my stop loss is trailed. Now I'm keeping my stop loss relatively loose on this one, and looking for some sort of breakout to the high side before looking to trail this profit any further, or trail the stop loss any further into profit. And so if I go back to our technical chart here, what I'm looking at is this high. If we can take out the highs, I think we have potential to squeeze that S&P move up to possibly even something like 4,000. Now, I want to add something to my indices idea. I understand that on the higher time frames, we are still not in the clear yet. We still have a downward structured market off of the higher time frames. I've got this trend line drawn on my chart. This is a daily chart for the S&P 500. We do have resistance, but I think we have room to continue expanding higher. So my thought process with this is that as we near that 4,000 mark, I'll be looking to trail stops and let this winner run if it wants to, but also be prepared to potentially trail that stop loss so that I can get out of the way if this thing does do something like this, where it trails higher and then drops off of a cliff. I want to make sure that I get out of the way by trailing my stop loss. Currently, my stop loss is sitting in profit. Let me see if I can draw you just a quick line to represent it just about here. And you can see we've got plenty of room here in front of my trade. So even if we see some volatility around CPI, really what would get me out of this trade would be taking out those lows and going back into a bearish market structure. I'll go ahead and lock in profits at that point. But if price is able to squeeze on up into that area, I will be looking to trail stops. And those of you who are inside of the Discord channel, like I said, I'll be updating you further on my S&P 500 trade that we've caught here, which is floating at this point over 750 pips. It's been a fantastic runner here for us on gold and the S&P 500. Of course, we will be trading the action for CPI. So if you're not already in the Discord, we're also doing 20% off of the VIP group right now. The link for that will be in the description, by the way. And if you use the promo code that's linked there, you'll get 20% off of our trade alerts and chat room access. So don't miss out on that, especially with a day like CPI tomorrow. It should be interesting. Now, pivoting and taking a look at the dollar, I want to show you guys this. So the dollar took out lows here pretty substantially, right? You had that 103.65 come into play, and it completely fell apart there. You would have expected some sort of bounce, but we didn't get much at all, and price took out the lows and now looks increasingly bearish going into the news tomorrow. So even if the spike happens and it spikes to the upside, my caution would be, hey, bulls, don't get too excited because you still have market structure to the downside here, and this low at 102.95 very likely could get retested. So if price pulls back on the actual spike of CPI numbers, it's very possible that sellers could get a hold of it and look to take out those lows and perhaps continue this downward structured trend as we had a massive sell-off. This is clear energy to the downside from earlier or last week. So my thought process on the dollar right now is bearish until proven otherwise. I want to show you guys something on the Edge Finder. If we take a look at our fundamental analysis section, we go to the inflation page. Let me move my camera, make this a little bit neater. Bear with me here. So looking at CPI numbers, this is the inflation data that we have on the Edge Finder, and you can see inflation has been curbing for many parts of the world. Now, not in all places. You can see at the very top, you've got GBP, which still, the UK still struggling with that inflation number. Interestingly enough, UK 100 also hitting fresh highs, which is very interesting to speak about with recession on the horizon big time. Sometimes markets do some weird things, but anyways, taking a look at this one, let's actually specify what we're focused on for today's video, which is of course the US dollar. Notice that inflation peaked back in June of this past year, right? So June came in, inflation hit its peak in the US and has since started to decline. Now, speculators are all over the place. Some people think that this is actually going to start continuing higher, but my opinion is we have seen a peak, and until that sort of changes, I'm not expecting this thing to go up. Now, of course, I don't know what the CPI number is going to be before it comes out. But if the trend is your friend, as it has been for much of the time with the inflation number, we've started to see a bit of a pivot. And if that pivot continues, the dollar is likely to continue to the downside. And that is why likely many investors have been so short biased on the dollar in recent times as inflation has sort of curbed. So important information, your number for tomorrow, guys, is going to be 6.5%. That's the consensus, right? So we'll see if that number matches expectations. If this number comes out less than expected, you'll see the dollar likely drop. And if the number is higher than expected, the dollar might catch a bit of a rally. And in both cases, we have scenarios that we've discussed in this video. We've talked about opportunities to trail stops on some of our trades. For my members inside of our Discord channel, we will be looking to do that if we catch a good runner. And if price goes against us, there may be opportunities to take profits and potentially even look to add new trades. Of course, like I said, any updates that I make will be shared inside of the Discord channel, so stay on the lookout for that if you are already a member with us. Thank you guys for tuning in today's video, and trade safe. See you next time. It looks like you made it to the end of one of my videos. Thank you so much for supporting my content. It really means the world to me. And down below in the description, I put together some of my best resources for aspiring traders who are looking to improve. I've got some free downloads that could help you, some broker recommendations, and if you'd like to join our Discord or get access to some of our trading software, all of that will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.